Welcome, everybody. It's Murray Fife here. I'm going to do something a little bit different today on my live stream. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start a series that hopefully will last for at least the current month as I work through some examples for you of Dynamics 365. And if you haven't been following me, then what I've been doing over the past number of years, more years than I want to talk about, is I've been documenting how to set up Dynamics 365 and how to use it. And I've gone through a couple of different scenarios, but what the current scenario that I'm using is I'm going out and I'm using a Dungeon and Dragon sort of setting to set up Dynamics, because I find that it's a lot more flexible, and we've got some different things that we can actually do with that along the way. So what I have done in the past is I've created these guides that walk through the setup, but I thought it would be a good experience to actually go through the setup live and work through the same guides that you would use if you went to the adnd365.com/start site, where I've got all of the instructions on how to set up Dynamics from the beginning. So not using USMF and not using any of the demo data, you're using a blank database and setting up the system. So today I'm going to start this, and I'm not going to make these long streams. I'm going to talk about just some of the examples and work through the new style of documentation that I've got so that you can see what we're doing. And so let's start with that, and let's move over. And this is what I'm going to be working through. I'm going to be using all of these guides that I've created and the reformatted guides for the AD&D 365 implementation, and showing you how that works. And the way that these guides are set up is that I've got every step that you need to perform documented inside of this process. And I'm going out and I'm using a lab environment that I've got set up that has all the localization and all the information that we need in order to set these up. So I'm going to switch between the actual environment and this documentation as we can move through. So if I swap over, what we've got here is we've got my lab environment. And let me just talk about this lab environment to start off, so that you all can get an idea of what this is. And this is a Dynamics 360 environment that has no data in it. It started off completely blank. I did add some small items to it, some localizations, so that we can have fun with the data sort of as we set up. And this is a fully functioning lab. I've got 10 of these that I can offer up to the public that allow you to go out and follow everything that I'm doing and all the setup that we're doing along the way as well, to do exactly this, to go out and set up a company, to set up the ledger and the financials, and then payables, receivables, inventory, products, and purchasing and sales, and all of the other modules along the way, all the things that I've documented. If we look at this, if we go into any of the areas, then we'll see that there's actually no data in there. This is an environment which I cheated and I started a little bit. So what we're going to do is, as we work through these different sections, what we're going to do is we're going to see some of the information that's already set up. Not a lot, just the initial setup in the system. So if we go back and look at the documentation that we've got here, then we're starting from the bare bones, where I found that to learn anything, including Dynamics, you really want to go out and you want to start from nothing, because then you learn all of how in this case, how journals work, how the system works. You're not going out and setting up some information or see some information that's already there, like product groups and item groups and all of those things. You have to build that yourself. And that gives you a much better appreciation of the setup. So what we're going to do is we don't have, or we wouldn't have any companies set up or any address information set up in the system that we can go and maintain. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at some of this initial setup that we're going through and see how that works. And the first item that we're going to look at is the legal entities. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up the legal entities form. Now, one thing you can do is there's a number of different ways in Dynamics, and I'll show you this over and over again, that you can go out and get to the same location. My favorite way to access the legal entities is just through the search. I can go and type in legal, and this going to find legal entities, or I could say LE for legal entities, and it's going to find some of the items. And also, as we look at this, something to keep in mind is that we're going to see the breadcrumb here, which is useful sometimes when you're trying to find some information inside of Dynamics, because what we can do is we can see where this is inside of the menu structure. So this is the easiest way if you know what form I want to go out and access. Now, if I go out into the organization administration and look at the organizational areas here, then we'll also see that there's legal entities are set up here within this organization. So if we collapse these, we can go to organizations and legal entities. Sometimes I star these so that these will show up in my favorites if I'm using them over and over again. But I'm just going to open that up. And that's going to take us to the area where we're going to see our legal entities or the companies that we've got configured within Dynamics. I've already got the Waterdeep Trading Company that's set up here, but it's just some basic information that we've got, including the address, but we're going to talk about the addresses in just a second. And if I wanted to go out and create, for example, a new legal entity, then I can just go and click New, and then I'm going to say, let's create one here, which is the Silvery Moon Magical Services. So I'm going to give my legal entity a name, and I'm going to give it a company ID. The company ID is what I'm going to be referencing it by all throughout the organization as we're working within the multi-companies. And this can only be 4 characters long. So if I'm abbreviating this, I could make this SMS, but I'd like to have everything with 4 characters because then it's tidy and it doesn't sort of look all jagged down the way. And then what we can do is we can go out and we can look at the addresses that we've got set up. Now, I can go out and see all of the different regions that we've got set up here. And also notice I've got the Faerûn region here as well. So all of the Dungeons and Dragons stuff is set on Faerûn. So we're not going to use USA. We're not going to use Canada. We're not going to use any country. We're going to use this. Now, if I choose this and then I go, okay, then that's going to go out and it's going to create our new legal entity for me. Just as a little bit of background. So this, if I want to go out and look at the the organization administration. Sorry, the general. Where is this? Let me do this. Yeah, look at organizational administration, the global address book addresses. Then this is where we've got some predefined information already set up for us. And what we've got is we've got a new country here, which is FAE for Faerûn. And then this is going to have an an address format that's associated with it. It's going to have some date and times associated with it. And then also what we've got is if we look at the states, then we've configured the address states. We've got cities that are associated with this that are specific to the realm that we're working in. And also we have districts. So in this example, every city has a ward or sets of wards that are different groupings within the city, so that we can go out and differentiate between different areas. So the state or province is a region, the city is the city, the district is the sort of like a county or a smaller area within the city. And then also we've got some information here where we've got zip codes. Now the zip codes are set up here, and we'll use these later on in the setup when we're going out and doing transportation management, especially because the zip codes will be used for point-to-point configurations, but that's a long way away. We're a long way away from setting up transportation for now. So if I go back to here, then what we're going to do is we've got our new company that we've set up here in the system. And all we're doing is defining the location that's associated with it. Now, once we're going to stop here with the legal entity setup, and we can just leave this as it is for now. If we, I think later on we're going to add an address to this that we've already got set up, but we'll see how we do that within the system. Now, if we look at the next step that we want to do, so we've gone out and we've created a new legal entity, and we've created the new Waterdeep trading company, and we've saved it. Now, what I can do is, by default, our company is going to be the DAT company or the data company. This is a reserved company that you're not going to use in the system. So for anyone who's new with Dynamics, you don't use this. You don't go into the DAT company, although when you've got a blank database, it's the only company that's there. You'll want to go into for example, the Waterdeep trading company. So what we can do is we can go back to the main screen, and I can go into the Waterdeep trading company. And now I'm inside of that company. We don't have any graphics. We don't have any logos that are associated with this. All we've got is a blank organization. And if we look at all of the companies, we'll see we've got data, and then also we've got the Waterdeep trading company. So this is the first step that we want to set up. Now, as we're setting up the company and sort of setting up some of this information, then what we're going to do is we don't want to go into the data company all the time and then have to change over to the Waterdeep trading company. What we want to do is we want to change our default user company so that every time we come in, then we're going to be coming into the Waterdeep trading company within the system. So the next step that we want to do is we want to change our user company. We want to change this one default so that we can just to save time in the long run. So to do this, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the system administration, and we're going to go into the user, and we're going to change our user profile. Now we can do that a number of different ways that we can see. So if I go back to my surface here, then I can find system administration, and this is going to be a workspace that's here. So I could go into the system administration workspace directly from here. But also what I can do is I can go into the system administration menu here, and that will allow me also to open up the system administration workspace that we've got. So that's going to take us to the same screen. Our end result is we want to go and manage our users, and we want to manage, in this case, the administrator, and change what login they use when they access this. So I can go into the manage users here, and this is going to show me all the users that are configured in the system. Right now, there's just the dungeon master for the administrator user. Now, as a side note, something that's not in the documentation, but it sort of makes sense, you can also go and just open up the users form directly and go straight into this form. So this is going to take us into the admin user. And if I click on the admin user, then it's going to pop up with the admin profile. This admin is a system administrator, so they've got full access to the system. And then I can edit this information here. Now, by default, this user would be set up so that the default company is the data company. But what I'm going to do is we're going to change this, and we're going to set it to the Waterdeep Trading Company, which means that every let's make this Dungeon Master. So every time they log in, then they're going to go straight to the Waterdeep Trading Company legal entity, even though nothing's set up now. So if I look at this, and if I want to refresh it, that's going to take me straight here. I'm not going to have to change my user along the way. So if I go back to my users and look at my admin user, then the only things that we're going to do here is change the company, the default company. We're going to update the username that's set up here, and then we're going to save. We're going to save these changes that we've made, and then this is really all we need to do in order to set this up. So now what we've done is we've configured the system so that we can go out and we can track all of this. We can log in automatically into the Waterdeep Trading Company. We've got our environment set up. Now so we've finished setting up the user default company. All of these are small steps, and they're really easy to manage. But what we're going to do is we're going to just move on to a couple more steps before we finish, before we get to like the 25-minute mark. And there's some housekeeping that we need to perform. And part of this is the configuration of the default storage locations. So whenever you upload an image or a logo, or which we're going to do in later steps as we add a logo for the Waterdeep Trading Company to our environment, then we need to have default document types and storage locations for those. So we're going to go in and we're going to open up the document types, and then we're going to modify these and store them within Azure, because we don't really want to put them in the database, especially images and documents and things, because they'll just bloat out the database and make it too large. So if we return back to our environment, then, and what we can do is I can go and do a search on document types. And then this is going to go into the document management document types screen. Or what I can do is I can go to the organization administration that we've seen before, and go to document management and go into the document types here. And it's going to take us to the same location. So now what we've got is we've got the different document file types we've got set up here. So we've got files and images and notes and URLs. These are the standard document types. And what we want to do for all of these is we want to make sure that these are being stored within Azure. And so if we put them in the database, then it's going to make the SQL database a little bit large. If we can put them in SharePoint if we want to, but that means that we need to go out and do some additional configurations to link the SharePoint site up. So what I'm doing here is I'm just going and looking at the images, and the notes are going to be stored in the database because they're just text files, and URLs are not large and all-encompassing, so they're going to be stored in the database as well. So for this step, what we're doing is we're just checking to make sure that the files and the images are being tracked in Azure storage. As a little bit of a side note, if you're going out and building this out yourself and you're using a virtual machine that you're running locally, similar to what we're doing here within the lab environments, then there's going to be an Azure storage emulator that you need to start up. If you don't do that, then we're not actually able to save these files. So this is just a quick step that we can work through as we're sort of configuring these. So to reiterate, what we're doing is we're just making sure that these document storage types are in Azure, the ones that we've got access to. We can go out if we want to and create additional document types that's inside of the user guide. And the reason why we do that is we want to segregate out different documents into different areas and give them different names. So what we can do is we could create a document type, or a contracts document type, or a video documents type, and then that allows us to do some more clever things later on. But for now, I'm not going to worry about that. And I think the last item that we're going to do here before we finish this short and brief sort of initial setup of the system is do something which is super important, and that's initialization of the number sequences. Now, if you don't do this, then everything falls apart, or it doesn't fall apart, it just doesn't allow you to do a lot of things. And the number sequences, when we create a new organization, there aren't any. And within Dynamics, number sequences control everything. So when you do a transaction, there's a number that's associated with it that's an index in a sense. And so whenever we create a new customer, whenever we create a new vendor, a product, a journal, then they all are controlled by these number sequences. You need to set these up before we can go out and do some other things. And even when we get to the next step, or some of the next steps, which is creation of addresses, then the number sequences are, if the number sequences are missing, then it's going to pop up with an error saying that it can't add the party ID for the address, and that's because it doesn't exist. So what we're going to do is we're going to initialize the number sequences. It may sound a little bit scary, but it's actually not that hard. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go back to the beginning. And again, I'm going to look for the number sequences. So I can just do a search in the menu because I know what this is. Or I can go to the organization administration, number sequences, and then there's a number sequence section here, or page here, that we can access. So I'm going to go out and open up this, and we're getting close to the section that where I haven't set up any data. So all of this has been sort of set up in advance for us to save some time. But this is the page where we'd see all of the number sequences that are used in the system, and there's a lot of them. And if we don't have any number sequences set up, then we don't create these by hand. What we can do is we can just say, I want to generate the number sequences. And it's going to go out and open up a wizard that will step us through the number sequences. And because I've set these up, it won't show that. But what we do is pretty much we just step through the wizard, and it's going to say, do you want to create the accounts receivable, payable, inventory, all of the modules, number sequences. It will automatically define those, and then it will create them for us within the system. So this one step is really important because it allows us to initiate the number sequences. So for these live streams and the setups, I want these to be bite-sized chunks. So as we come up to like the 25-minute mark, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop, and then we're going to pick up from here in the next live stream that hopefully I'm going to do tomorrow. And then we'll continue through the setup, and we'll work through the documentation and the configuration of our organization and our legal entity, so that we can move on to some of the more exciting areas later on in the system. So this was the first and initial setup configuration sort of walkthrough that we're doing. But there's a lot more that we need to set up. If you want to go out and if you want to do this yourself, if you want to step through this process now or later on, and you don't have access to a PC that's strong enough for you to go out to run a virtual machine on yourself, then just call me or ping me on LinkedIn or YouTube or Facebook or any of the other channels that we're on, and we can talk about how I can get you a lab environment that you can use. And also, if you we don't have it set up here inside of the ticker yet, but if you want to support this project, if you want to support the reimagining of this documentation from soup to nuts all the way through the setup, then don't forget you can support me on Patreon and help sort of keep the lights on and this project working through. So this is all we're going to talk about today. I'm going to end the stream, but watch out for the next walkthrough that I'm going to do tomorrow, where we're going to talk about the global address books and talk more about addresses and that's set up within the system. So have a great day, everyone.